First of all, there were three brilliant, individualistic, strong-willed, world-renowned musical artists. Although they were used to working alone, they joined forces in Rome in 1990 for one single performance. The result? Pure magic.
It's a phenomenon. It's like a comet. It's visiting us at the moment. This comet is called these three singers. I don't know when it'll ever happen again. This quality, 3 times around.
The concert in Rome became such a success that I told them that they have to carry on. They created something new, something great. The people were waiting for new and more. And you know how they responded to my great idea? No way.
After the Rome concert, each of these brilliant performers was much too busy with his own flourishing career to even think about a reunion.
Svani per sempre il sogno mio d'amore che l'ora è uscita e muoio disperata e muoio disperata.
Impresario Tibor Rudas was absolutely determined to get them to meet again. After 2 years of rejections, Rudas suddenly reached his goal by means of the proverbial offer that the tenors could not refuse. In the summer of 1992, he made an exclusive agreement to produce the official final concert at the 1994 World Cup. The World Cup, the biggest, the most colourful, the most emotional and the most dramatic competition on earth. And in 1994, this contagious celebration of sport and spectacle was scheduled to overwhelm the unsuspecting citizens of the United States for the very first time. The three tenors share a passion for football. Domingo is more a striker than a singer. Carreras dreams of leading his beloved Barcelona. And Pavarotti was a professional football player before he became an opera star.
I went to Pavarotti And I explained to him. He asked me, World Cup, 94, soccer? My word, we cannot refuse that.
I think the idea that we made this with Tibor is even more beautiful, because I know how is the organization of Tibor is fantastic.
I went to talk to the World Cup people to propose to them, let's make the concert of the three tenors. When I went to talk to them, they said, Mr. Rudas has already the rights. So I said, well, fine. He has the rights. Here we are. Let's try to get together. And here we are.
The three of us, we believed that Los Angeles and the night before the final is the right moment to do it.
The final match of the 1994 World Cup was scheduled for Sunday, July the 17th in Los Angeles, California. The fantasy capital of the world, Los Angeles had also experienced some hard times since hosting the 1984 Olympic Games. The tenors and Rudas had hoped that their 94 World Cup concert would help lift the spirits of this beleaguered metropolis. But little did they realize at the time how much heavy lifting the spirit of the City of Angels would need during the next 2 years. The first logistical question, where in Los Angeles should the concert be performed? Perhaps the Hollywood Bowl, a prestigious choice, but with a capacity of only 16,000, too small for what Rudas had in mind. The Forum, with a 20,000 capacity, was still too small, and size was not the only consideration.
The baseball stadium, especially when we talk about the Dodger Stadium itself, is beautifully built in a way that one side is completely open. As soon as I saw the situation, I knew that I can create probably the greatest amphitheater ever built on Earth.
I called Tommy Hawkins, who is vice president of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I said to him, we're planning a three tenors concert for Los Angeles, and do you think the Dodgers would be interested?
And I thought to myself, boy, I hope so.
Then we talked to Peter O'Malley. Guess what? Major League Opera fan. He said, we'll do it, and he said, don't worry, you'll have the absolute cooperation of everybody in the organization.
What are you going to do to my field? This is what I call Dodger Stadium, blue heaven on earth. And what are you going to do to my field,
No,
Tibor?
you don't need to worry. We have a special idea. We won't want to use it, so we dig up the whole thing and throw it away.
What?
And replace it with balls. No, we will be very, very careful.
Well, let me just say this. Tell Pavarotti now, if he wants me to join in with help him with a little bit of the singing, he can always call me.
I will do just that.
Thank you, Tibor.
April in New York. With the performance little more than 3 months away, the three tenors finally got together officially to announce the plans for the concert. Scheduling the press conference was a challenge. Try to find a date when these three globetrotters can all be in the same city, and then add a fourth. The captain of the team, so to speak, the man who commands the tenors' total respect, Maestro Zubin Mehta.
We are lucky, the three of us, then we can have Zubin with us, and then we can have him back. Because you can find somebody, then just come and do the job, you know, which certainly there are other conductors. But to have that kind of feeling and the enthusiasm that he has in every rehearsal, I mean, it's something that we need.
I'm flying on a magic carpet with them. Nothing goes wrong. I have, as an accompanist there, as a man who makes music with them, I have such a confidence that sometimes when you work either with a soloist, instrumental, or a singer, you feel, well, you have to be careful in case something goes wrong. With them, it just doesn't happen.
A plane was waiting to return Carreras to an engagement in Europe. And Domingo and Pavarotti were both scheduled to sing at separate performances in New York that evening. But all three took the time to greet a crush of professional and personal admirers.
I'll tell you one thing, that as dangerous as it is for us to be singing in front of millions of people, I mean, trillions, the pleasure than it is, I think I'd rather be one of the three tenors and Maestro Mehta conducting than be the goalkeeper.
Their combined drawing power was never more in evidence. Although the concert had been public knowledge for a year, about 300 reporters and news crews representing a mere 50 or 60 countries showed up.
We are three colleagues, but first of all, we are three very, very, very good friends, and we have lots of respect and admiration for each other. And I think that this is the reason, this is the main reason why this is going to happen again, because we all believe, the four of us, in this concert to be a success again.
I think we are singing in 4 languages, 5. Yes, 5 languages, 6. 6.
9 languages.
9 languages? Yes, we even Neapolitan. I forget.
For the 4 to be together is difficult, so it has taken 4 years, really, to get together again.
The amount of people that came close to opera as a result of the Caracalla concert only made us, gave us more impetus that this was again the right time to do one more. And we are absolutely sure that this time, especially in the United States, the impact will be of a very robust nature.
The easiest point, and I think my friends, they all agree with that, the easiest point has been always the repertoire. Who is singing what?
You have to have an aria that really the public knows.
But not to put a bel canto aria together with a verismo aria, or to put to give a certain shape.
For tenor, Neapolitan songs are a kind of arias.
We should have Verdi in the program.
I enjoyed always the American songs that Lanza used to sing in his movies.
When I start singing at Tabernera del Puerto, you know, it is, everybody starts applauding. I mean, it has become so popular, the piece.
Well, I think that Luciano Stelle is one of the most popular tenor arias.
Last time I sang a Lucia Van Stelle, so this time José is going to be doing a Lucia Van Stelle.
Excuse me, I'm not singing Lucia di Lammermoor.
I'm singing, you know, the Luisa Miller aria.
I'm singing Tosca.
So I think one of the really popular arias is Vesti la Giubba.
I am singing instead Bohème, Che c'era da manina.
Well, Granada is I suppose, my signature piece. I have been doing it always.
The aria from Werther is an aria that I am not going to sing.
That's definite. We have a lot of ideas. We have a very vast repertoire, thanks God. Not only in opera, but only in different songs that we sing, different type of music, more close to the crossover or the old Neapolitan songs, the legacy we receive from people like Caruso, Schippa, Di Stefano, Gigli, etc., etc. So, believe me, the repertoire has been always the easiest point.
The evening before the April New York press conference, the tenors and Mehta sat down for another in a series of spirited discussions about the musical possibilities for the July performance in Los Angeles.
The part I'm really looking forward is when the three of us, we are going to be together on stage, singing at the same time, singing in these medleys we are going to sing. And I believe that this is also the favorite part of most of the audience.
I don't know how much the public enjoyed everybody singing, you know, when we are singing alone, but the public, what they really want to hear is when we are singing together.
The medley is completely new, and we enjoy very much to do together.
Tibor Rudas had called for not one, but 2 medleys in this concert, and arranger, orchestrator Lalo Schifrin had done his best to include everybody's wishes in his first draft. But obviously, there was still some work left to be done.
This Santa Lucia, the introduction is very beautiful, but is very dangerous. It's very dangerous. I say before, and you told me then you go up 1 tone.
After this, Lalo can make that.
Go to try, if you do 1 tone higher, go to try the piano, the beauty of this thing. The beauty of change even in this place.
Could we put here a Neapolitan song? Could we put here Di Citancello Vuoi, believe me?
Yeah, because this was only to sing.
È quello che vogliono sentire cantare noi, ragazzi.
Don't ask me to make Italian song.
No, I mean, no
Sì, ma poi
te
c'è una
parece
mancanza
Plácido?
di italiano anche.
Benissimo.
Mettiamo invece di questo di Cito in cielo buio, dai.
Ma non c'è niente dal primo medley di mettere qui?
Sì,
che lui ha già fatto?
Secondo me cosa c'è? Da mettere lì c'è la mattinata di Leoncavallo.
Sì.
Ma l'abbiamo fatto nell'ultimo medley.
Sì.
No,
you can't make that.
No, Luciano, perché se poi per caso metti che alla fine c'è la fine del mondo e che vogliamo fare qualche cosa in più, possiamo preparare il medley dell'altra volta in una versione corta.
Corta, sì.
Già che abbiamo fatto il medley, che abbiamo fatto l'aria che forse
Sì, perché
facciamo.
quello medley finisce con O Sole Mio.
Sì.
Di Roma.
Sì.
At the end, you will have to give them the things that they are really looking forward to. You must.
Yeah.
I know it from people who ask me questions.
I'd like to know, what are the three of you going to sing at the end? Have you decided?
I'm afraid that we cannot display the program yet, even if it's already, logically, we have been discussing a lot about, and it's going to be very soon. You are going to know it very soon. But of course, there are still some adjustments to be done, and I think, basically, for most of the people, the fact of being surprised by the repertoire would be the best.
We could plan 6 of these concerts and not repeat a single piece. So choosing repertoire is no problem at all.
The embarrassment of musical riches turned out to be a bit of a curse. After the orchestrations were compiled, the tenors could not resist changing the repertoire. They changed it again on June the 10th, right after the official program was shipped around the world in 6 languages, and again on July the 1st, right after the long-range television listings had been released, and again just 2 nights before the concert, after 60,000 revised programs had been printed for the stadium audience. Music arranger Lalo Schifrin's next move was into the studio to produce demonstration tracks of the medleys with substitute voices for the tenors to listen to and learn.
Oh, okay.
We're doing a demo with a piano reduction of my orchestrations for the Los Angeles Philharmonic. As you know, there's no literature for 3 tenors. There's no music written for 3 tenors. The opera composers, they never have 3 tenors singing. It's only 1 or 2 maybe. So they needed to have orchestrations done for 3 tenors.
Lalo literally locked himself in the studio with these 3 singers for days. And we kept telling him, Lalo, this is only a demo. We'd like to get it out and send it over to them. But he said, no, it has to be perfect to inspire the 3 tenors.
I found the best 3 tenors I could find in Los Angeles. I tell you what Carreras, Domingo, and Pavarotti said about it. The 3 of them said, where do you find these tenors? They're fantastic.
I'm one of the 3 rehearsal tenors, I guess you would call us. We're preparing this tape for Plácido and Jose and Luciano to use to learn the order of the pieces and the order of the verses and who sings which harmony and that kind of thing.
In one day, I think we sang in 5 different languages. And so it's not only a matter of musically singing the right notes and then giving the right emotional performance, but you've got the language to be concerned about also, knowing that the other tenors might be listening to make sure if there's a question that they have, that they will be listening to us to set that example.
I am Mr. Pavarotti, which is a great honor. Which is a great honor. It would be a great honor to sing for any 3 of them because I have listened to all 3 of them for years. It could be a whole new career for study tapes for the stars.
After 5 days of compulsive perfectionism in the studio, Lalo Schifrin finally sent the medley demonstration tapes to Carreras, Domingo, and Pavarotti. Now, only time would tell if the real 3 tenors would actually study them to prepare for the concert. Unfortunately for the producer, there is more to producing a mega concert than convincing the artist to perform. Tibor Rudas claimed that he had signed more contracts for this particular concert than for all of the other productions of his entire 50-year career combined.
The contracts are pouring in so fast that we've started to keep a tally of the number of times we're signing our names. We're over 500. I'm starting to feel that I'm practicing law without a license.
And what agreement is most important? Recording. Although we probably will take the highest gross ever taken to any concert on earth, on any kind, at Dodger Stadium by ticket sales, it still would be a loss if recording wouldn't come to help. But apart from the finances, the important thing is that over 1 billion people will be able to enjoy this concert.
Back in October 1993, Rudas, Baruch, and McLaren sequestered themselves on 17 Mile Drive with Ahmet Ertegun, chairman of Atlantic Records, and Mel LeWinter, senior vice president of the Warner Music Group. The first concrete planning meetings to discuss production logistics and worldwide marketing of recordings and television were now quietly underway.
The choice of Warner was great. They are bold. And a part of that, Ahmet Ertegun, I feel, will take this whole project into a tremendous height.
The fact that there would be an encore, a reunion of these three great voices made it something which I thought would be the most important thing that I could bring to the Time Warner Group, and especially to the Warner Music Group. And as the chairman of Atlantic Records, I went after this with greater fervor than any other project I was involved with at the time.
I think a project of this nature and magnitude requires both the artistic and productive skills of a classical operation together with the mass marketing knowledge of a rock and roll and pop company, both in its recording and in its video dimensions. I think a marriage of both is essential for the success of a project like this.
Music such as the Three Tenors is understood around the world. It's the common denominator and has been for centuries. And people in every country appreciate it, relate to it, and feel part of it.
Budapest, a magnificent city that has inspired artistic and cultural achievement for centuries, lent its own magic to the concert. Tibor Rudas returned to his homeland to visit the immortal Heroes Square and to meet with theatrical designer Laszlo Székely.
We have a huge arena, one of the most beautiful arenas in the world, the Dodger Stadium.
With Heroes Square as their inspiration, the Hungarians designed a monumental stage that would bring a pleasing element of classical antiquity to Dodger Stadium. Hungary's finest craftsmen built the set and sent it to be assembled in Los Angeles. America's finest craftsmen had to see if the pieces would fit and how long it would take to put them together. Scarcely 3 days after the earthquake that shook the city to its foundations, the stage was constructed for the first time in Los Angeles.
Because of the size of the set, we needed a large hangar, and that's the reason why we come here. This is one of the few large hangars that this set would fit into.
It took 2 days to erect the massive structure, which now stood ready for inspection.
Well, it looks monumental now. By the time you get to the Dodger Stadium, it will not be that monumental, you know.
The stage itself was only a part of the larger master plan that would ultimately blend classical architecture with the beauty of nature.
Tibor Rudas, the producer, came to us and said that he wanted to transform Dodger Stadium into this lush kind of space. So the best way to do that is what we do best in Hollywood, and that's create drops, create faux rock, and we also have the idea of some waterfalls to integrate into that space. And we came up with this end result.
The giant waterfalls were crafted from flexible foam molds made at a scenic canyon just east of Los Angeles. It took 5 weeks to prefabricate the cliffs so that they could be assembled quickly, like a giant puzzle once they arrived at Dodger Stadium.
We spray our mold with a barrier coat that protects it, and then we spray polyurethane foam into the mold. You let it cure, you peel the mold out, and you have what's called a part. And we make repetition of probably 60-some parts so far to do what we've done. We have probably another 60 parts to go before we're done.
Each waterfall will have a flow of about 600 gallons per minute. Between the two of them, we'll be using about 20% of the water will be in motion at all time. We have a total of about 7,000 gallons of water in all of the tanks at the different levels.
The design also called for huge backdrops that would not only make the stadium bleachers disappear, but also enhance the acoustics of the emerging amphitheater. To execute them, the producers turned to the company that has created breathtaking movie backdrops for 60 years, ranging from The Wizard of Oz to Jurassic Park.
This is what we go by to paint the full-size thing. These are our basic colors. There's probably hundreds and hundreds of colors that we develop as we go.
When married together, the scenery and the stage would ultimately be 1/10 of a mile long and more than 5 stories high.
Congratulations, Sonny.
Thanks, Dave.
Congratulations, you're beautiful.
With growing confidence that the complex scenic design might actually work, Rudas contentedly flew off into the sunset. With the Los Angeles concert date thundering toward them, the 3 tenors and Mehta asked for an opportunity to tune up. Rudas arranged an intimate, private charity concert in Monte Carlo. As usual, the logistics were tricky. Domingo arrived from Bonn, Carreras from Barcelona, Pavarotti came in from Modena, and Mehta from Florence. Reunited for the afternoon, they plunged into a brief rehearsal. The joy of performing together again removed the rust from the relationship right away. And that night, as if to prove that rehearsing is for mere mortals, not super tenors, they literally improvised their parts on stage. Their magnificent self-confidence would prove to be a bit of a liability in Los Angeles 5 weeks later, but on this particular magical evening in Monte Carlo, our heroes could do no wrong.
We're very fortunate to have the opportunity to film the tenors at a special charity show they did in Monte Carlo, which was a sort of a rerun of the Caracalla show for charity for the Rainiers. And we took the opportunity to film 2 new songs. One was the Brindisi and one was Don Immobile. And we are releasing those 4 weeks ahead of the album around the world. We decided this would give us a major step up in the power of our release.
la bellezza infiora e là fuggevo l'ora s'inebria voluta liviana i dolci fremiti che suscita l'amore poiché quello che ha la core onnipotente amore fra i carici più caldi baci avrà tra voi saprò dividere il tempo mio già tempo tutto è follia nel mondo ciò che non è piace liviam fugace e rapido è il gaudio dell'amore è un fiore che nasce e muore né più si può goder godiamo ci invitano fermi docento musichier nella tripudia quando non savi ancora non dite che lei ignora è il mio destin così
The recording of Liviamo was the great success for which Warner Music had hoped. A pop hit in Europe, it was also adopted as the theme song for World Cup football television coverage in numerous countries around the world. Following an afternoon game, the Los Angeles Dodgers baseball club abandoned their stadium for an extended road trip. Meanwhile, an anxious army of teamsters, technicians, and stagehands began to occupy the grounds. Even before the players were completely packed and on the road, the frenetic process of transforming the stadium into a concert amphitheater had begun.
There's going to be a huge waterfall coming down over in that left-hand corner where the scaffolding is.
A news crew from the People's Republic of China was given a tour of the construction site. It took a small army of public relations representatives to host several hundred very curious writers and television crews during the week of setup.
I can't show you the columns yet because they're not up, but they're sort of around the back. Well, you can sort of see the base of them down there.
To finish on time, the crews had to work day and night. The producers supplied round-the-clock food service, dormitories, and other amenities to keep the hard-working craftspeople comfortable.
I'm very happy with the progress of the work on the pavilions. It's a wonderful crew working out there, very fast. These guys are very fast too. We had just a little problem on our stage, and get out of that. If that happens to be easy, everything is going fine.
By midweek, It seemed that every tree and shrub to be found in Los Angeles was being installed at the stadium. One could finally see all of the pieces fitting together. The giant waterfalls were planned for only one purpose: to astonish the concert patrons as they first entered the stadium. The cascades would be delightful, but noisy. During the concert itself, they would be replaced by silent aquatic lighting effects.
There was a lot of speculation as to how much water, how little water, how noisy, how windy, how this, how that. So seeing it all pull together and having it work beautifully to my satisfaction, I'm very, very, very pleased with it.
This is the first time in the history of the stadium that they have ever allowed an audience to sit on the infield. I mean, nothing could be more precious to them than the quality of the playing surface, and yet they cheerfully consented to filling the entire infield with seats, and they allowed us to cover the infield for an entire week, which is unheard of. It's the first time anybody's ever built anything over these pavilions that are in front of me, and it's the first time that they've ever, for baseball fans, it's the first time that they've ever taken down the net behind home plate, which has been untouched for 35 years. So the Dodgers have really knocked themselves out to help us, and I can't imagine how we could have done it if they hadn't been so great.
By Thursday morning at 10 o'clock, the construction team had finished the gargantuan job as promised, on time. The stage was now set for the first visit by the artists.
You can play tennis here.
Yeah, that's what we want to do. 1, 2. Oh, wow. Too much. Hang on, what phone is this going on? John Pello. I thought you had a bad time in the middle of the rehearsal, okay? Yeah, sure, bye.
You come from Beverly Hills?
Yes, on the way. On the way, okay.
But I think you better to be start.
I have to be there.
The workmen and the technicians had done their job. Maestro Mehta was putting the finishing touches on the preparations of the Los Angeles Philharmonic and the Los Angeles Music Center Opera Chorus. And the tenors? Well, they'd had their Lalo Schifrin demo recordings, they'd had their Monte Carlo warm-up, and now it was time for them to be the great three tenors.
The goal here is to connect the audience with the artists in this case. We've got 4, really. We've got the 3 singers and a conductor. To do that, we're going to try to create a sound system that will keep people's focus on those people and not be aware necessarily that the sound is being amplified, but let them forget about that, forget where they are, and just connect with what's happening on stage. One thing that's interesting is that this concert is not a rock and roll concert. It is a concert of classical music. And classical music doesn't work loud. So we will play this show at as close to concert hall levels as we can, consistent with people hearing.
The recording techniques that are being used are incredibly delicate and sophisticated. So one of the things we had to think about was to make sure that there was no noise over the stadium, because there's a fair amount of aircraft traffic that goes over Dodger Stadium on a regular basis. And you know, you can just picture the engineers in the truck ripping off their headsets in dismay as a chopper destroys a perfectly beautiful aria by Luciano Pavarotti. So we went to work with an awareness campaign a couple of months ago to start alerting the aircraft community to make sure they stayed out of our way on that night.
As you know, amphitheaters have their own natural acoustic, but this is a bit too large for its own natural acoustic, but it is, with the sound system we have, in fact, it's working out extremely well. So the coverage to every seat in this stadium, everybody will hear crystal clear.
Jimmy looks after the front of house sound engineering, and I will look after everything else. That's the recording, the placement of microphones, the transmission, and the subsequent remixing, and for both video and for CD and all the other products that we make at the end of this concert.
I will be working from the scores and helping John right through this concert, either what a producer in a record session will do, very often cueing, warning, advising and so on, and also having a say in the balance as well. Afterwards, supervising the editing, again working with the team, but having to be ultimately responsible for the end result. I suppose somebody has to put their name to it somehow.
As day turned to night, an audience of friends and relatives settled in for the all-important dress rehearsal, which would also serve as a backup recording and telecast tape in case the actual concert was interrupted. For Zubin Mehta, this performance would be a joyous reunion with the Los Angeles Philharmonic, which he led for more years than any other musical director.
Well, I'm so happy that it's this orchestra. Even now, over half the orchestra has been engaged by me years and years ago, so I know them so well. They know me. They are so flexible. They are at home in both the classical repertoire and the American musical comedy repertoire.
Earlier in the afternoon, the formally attired orchestra and chorus arrived. Maestro Mehta was a picture of sartorial splendor. But fashion statements got confused when Plácido Domingo's assistant forgot to bring his boss's formal wear to the stadium. Since Domingo was unavoidably casual, Carreras and Pavarotti saw no need to dress either. But as the rehearsal proceeded, it became increasingly apparent that the tenor's clothing was the least of their problems that night.
I'm short, but not that short.
To read, we have to sing like it. You like it?
This is a rehearsal. And it's not fun.
Misplaced clothing, and technical difficulties notwithstanding, no one could have predicted the comedy of errors that transpired during the next 2 hours.
But in America, everything's in America. Not yet. Where is my that's all I ask of you. Is there? Okay, I'm sorry. Drink, yellow card. Okay. Sorry.
After that disastrous dress rehearsal, every member of my staff ended up with a heart attack, except myself. Because in 200 years in this business, I have learned one thing. There's nothing worse than an overconfident artist. These three maestros I knew will go out and work for the next 2 days to make sure they go out to the audience fully prepared. And they did.
Early the next morning, Mehta called the tenors together for a lengthy, unscheduled rehearsal. The maestro's attitude was, "Nessen dorm. No man shall sleep until we get this right."
I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain.
There's a lot of camaraderie, there's a lot of friendship. And of course, we, at the eyes of the public, is what they like to see. They like to see that we are not such a good friends, but of course we are friends and we enjoy it.
Behind the stage, we are people that we have lots of admiration for each other, lots of respect, and not only in the professional or the artistic side, but also in the personal side. And I think that's what makes this event very special.
I'm sure you knew when I bit off more than I could chew, but through it all the love was there. I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all. There is a competition in terms that we try to do our best. Of course, we cannot allow ourselves to make a second-class performance in this event.
We are very happy to be back with PBS.
We are very happy to be back with PBS.
We are very thrilled to be back with PBS.
Well, PBS goes on, and we are back.
The Three Tenors 1994 concert would be the most watched worldwide music event in history. In most countries, the concert was televised just before the World Cup final match or immediately following it. Nearly 1.5 billion viewers would enjoy the concert via more than 100 national television networks.
Well, this is a big event. There are 14 cameras covering the event, 6 of which are principally tenor cameras, and 4 or 5 which are event cameras, and then the rest dealing with orchestral coverage. It's like being on a freight train, you know. Here we go, and the next stop is the end of the show.
At last, the long-awaited World Cup final weekend arrived. World Cup fever and tenormania gripped Los Angeles.
Service out there. We want to bring out 2 more chairs for the dignitaries, for Mr. Bush, for Mr. Gore's security. But the fire marshals won't let us do that. And the Secret Service can't tell the fire marshal to put them in. So what we're going to do, where are we going to put the 2 guys? Where? I have no idea.
Taking this home.
Yeah, great.
Jose is here.
Yes, they've gone up for a sound check.
Already?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yes. But I haven't seen Luciano yet.
Thank you.
you a fan of the opera?
I'm a fan, yes, I'm a fan of opera and of soccer.
Who's your favorite tenor?
Dignitaries and celebrities gathered in the massive hospitality center behind the stage. Other music lovers created their own hospitality centers in the parking lot.
Fabulous conductor, 3 amazing tenors. What more could a girl ask for?
When was it that you finally knew what you were going to conduct tonight?
At 7 o'clock this evening.
US television host Itzhak Perlman laughed, but Zubin Mehta wasn't kidding. The final repertoire was still under discussion even as the tenors came into the backstage area.
Gentlemen, toi, toi, toi.
Gentlemen, this is it.
It was a star-studded evening. The lovingly crafted rendition of My Way was a tribute to an appreciative Frank Sinatra. Bob and Dolores Hope attended, along with the President and Mrs. George Bush, Tom Cruise, Mrs. Al Gore, Whoopi Goldberg, Gene Kelly, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and many others. For the tenors, the concert was a triumph. Carreras captivated the crowd with his passionate performance. Domingo's burnished tones and vocal power overwhelmed every listener. And Pavarotti was everything that Pavarotti is famous for being.
Viste que subía más la voz aquí. Bajan bien, vuelven al claro.
After 4 years, the reunion was achieved, and the most special moments of all came when they sang together.
It's absolutely fantastic, really beyond my expectations. It's just very moving, very beautiful. I especially like them when they sing together.
La donna è mobile, qual piuma al vento, muta d'accento e di pensiero. Sempre una amabile, leggiadro viso, in pianto in riso e menzognero. La donna è mobile, qual piuma al vento, muta d'accento pensier di pensier e sempre misero chi a lei s'affida, chi le confida, ma cauto il cuore. Ormai non sentesi felice appieno, chi sul cuore seno non li va amore. La donna è mobile, qua più malvento, muta l'accento ed il pensiero. Ed il pensiero. See you 98.
2 years after the concert was originally conceived, Los Angeles was graced with this marvelous event, bringing a warmth and a glow to a city that had suffered numerous disasters. For that, the unique spirit of the three tenors will be long remembered.
In my belief, in entertainment, you need 3 keys to success: the right product, the right place, and the right time. If you miss one of these 3, you will fail. But if you study hard and establish that the 3 of them are together, then you've got to go without fear.